This is my story of how I built a slider using a 48-inch sliding closet door, a fluid head, a small piece of wood, a really big screw, a rusted roller, a hammer, screwdriver, some screws, and some wheels. I went to Lowe's because I knew that they would cut the wood for me, and because I'm using a sliding closet door, I figured that the thickness of this wood multiplied by 2, so I would put 2 pieces side by side, would be perfect. Next, I went to my local hardware, and Al went ahead and put a hole through one of the boards. Now, I'm eventually going to use 2 of these. Here he is beveling it so the screw that he fit to my fluid head would go in and lay as flat as possible. Next, we went ahead and measured everything up to make sure it fit, and it looked pretty good from here. Now, all I had to do was attach another piece of wood on to this one, line up my wheels, and in theory, everything was gonna be just perfect. But the next thing that I realized I had to do was line up the wheels with the track. It took a little bit of trial and error, but eventually I figured out exactly which way they needed to go, and I thought that I was on my way to a slider. I realized that my drill was broken, so I'm using an old school technique, which is just a handheld screwdriver and some screws. Now, what I needed to do was drill these screws by hand all the way through both of these pieces of wood. So here I went. Now, I'm on my way to building this very competent slider. I figured that once these 2 pieces of wood were screwed in together and my wheels were on, well, because I had pre-measured everything, this wood would fit exactly on the closet track and it would align up perfectly with the wheels and I would be golden. Now, not only did it take me forever to screw all of these in by hand, but I didn't realize that the wood was going to split after I put on both wheels on one side. So I decided I'll figure out exactly what I need to do to fix the situation. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and line everything up by putting another wheel on the other side. And as soon as I know that it's all lined up, well, I'll figure out the rest of it. So here is the moment of truth. And it is a really big failure. Not only was I now working with only 2 wheels, which wasn't going to balance this thing out once the fluid head and the camera were attached, but the wheel wouldn't even go onto the track. So I have one wheel on the track closest to our view, but the furthest wheel was completely on the cement. So this was a total disaster. I'm just going to chalk this up to a lesson learned, and next time I guess I'll be a little bit more precise about how I construct my slider.